All right, so yesterday we had some pretty massive breaking news that Cornel West is officially launching a 2024 run for president. Now, there's a lot to get into here in regards to how he is going about launching this campaign, but first I just want to say up front, obviously Cornel West is somebody who I have a massive amount of respect for, somebody who has influenced the development of my own politics. I mean, we're talking about somebody who has been a consistent anti-war, anti-capitalist advocate for civil rights. I mean, you can go up and down the line and look at this man's career, and again, it's just nothing but love and respect for him. And honestly, him running for president usually would be something that I would be like, okay, let's go fully on board with this. Let's see what you can do. But as you can see here from his announcement, and he's got a video here that we're going to watch in a second, but he says he's running for truth and justice as a presidential candidate for the People's Party. Okay, so for those of you who don't know anything about the People's Party, I got an article here lined up that we're going to get to after we watch this video, but let's just say it is a questionable choice at best that he has decided to align himself with the People's Party, and I'm honestly just confused, and maybe I think that like he just didn't really know that much about the People's Party, because it's just a bizarre choice to launch a campaign on that platform instead of on, like, I don't know, the Green Party platform, or entering the Democratic primary, or even just running as an independent. But we'll get to all of that here in a second. First, let's just go ahead and hear his opening pitch.
In these bleak times, I have decided to run for truth and justice, which takes the form of running for president of the United States as a candidate for the People's Party. I enter in the quest for truth. I enter in the quest for justice. And the presidency is just one vehicle to pursue that truth and justice, what I've been trying to do all of my life. I come from a tradition where I care about you. I care about the quality of your life. I care about whether you have access to a job with a living wage, decent housing, women having control over their bodies, health care for all, de-escalating the destruction of the planet, the destruction of American democracy. Democracy creates disruption. It creates an eruption. It creates an interruption. Wide from below, the energies of everyday people is manifest. And I know there are precious people in your life who you care for. That's why it's important for you to be involved, important for you to participate. We're not talking about hating anybody. We're talking about loving. We're talking about affirming. We're talking about empowering those who have been pushed to the margins, because neither political party wants to tell the truth about Wall Street, about Ukraine, about the Pentagon, about big tech. Neo-fascists like Brother Trump or milquetoast neoliberals like Brother Biden. Wow, well, I'm so happy to make a world-shaking decision. You know what I mean? Well, I know gangsters when I see them. And gangster's not a subjective expression. It's an objective condition. Do we have what it takes? We shall see. But some of us are going to go down fighting, go down swinging with style and a smile, accenting the best in you and trying to tease out the best in me. Let's do it together.
Okay, so not a bad advertisement at all. I think he touched on a bunch of different points there. You know, I would like to see a little bit maybe more specifics in terms of his actual policy platform. I did go to his website here, cornelwest24.com, and it seems like the only like actual policy legislative, item that he's put on there is Medicare for All, which usually I use as a pretty good litmus test in terms of where a politician is standing and whether or not they're being genuine and, advocating for things like healthcare and the rest of these things. But, he mentions the the living wage. He mentions, poverty in the United States, the military industrial complex. All of that is great, and all of that I think was, a great campaign advertisement. So with that being said, I mean, again, I would support his candidacy for presidency. He's chosen not to run in the Democratic primary, which means it's not going to be like a head-to-head between Cornel West and Marianne Williamson splitting up this sort of leftist coalition vote or something like that. But, I would be perfectly willing to, go to the voting booth when it comes to election day, and if the options are Biden and Trump or DeSantis and then Cornel West on the ballot, I'm 100% selecting Cornel West. But now we get to the aspect of this which I think is the most questionable, which is, why the fuck did you decide to run with the People's Party? Okay, this is a party that has had just so many scandals, so many inconsistencies, so many sort of lies that have come out of it, and misleading people and misdirecting a lot of people's energy, because at a fundamental level, I mean, I am 100% in support for a third party run for any candidate for that matter, or even just running as an independent or building a third party as a project. I obviously think we have this corrupt two-party duopoly here in the United States of Democrats and Republicans who are incredibly corrupt, incredibly beholden to the interests of Wall Street and the military-industrial complex. We saw how the Democratic Party reacted to Bernie Sanders running both in 2016 and 2020, stabbing him in the back. So I get all of the critiques of the two-party duopoly. I get all of the critiques of the way that the Democratic establishment operates within that party structure. So I would totally get running as a third-party candidate or running outside of this two-party system, but why the People's Party? So here we get into a little bit of details. There was a great rundown that was put together here by the New Republic's Prem Thacker, who says Cornel West announces presidential bid as a People's Party candidate. So here's why it's sort of an issue that he's running with the People's Party. They say he is now running on a party ticket that purports to embrace similar ideals, but has had trouble on the execution side of things. While the party began in 2017 with the noble roots to form a new political party independent from corporate money and influence, it has been mired in troubling allegations as well as broader organizational dysfunction. They say numerous sources have corroborated sexual harassment allegations against the party founder, this guy Nick Brana, who is a bizarre guy to say the least, and obviously has some credible allegations against him. They say last year, former party member Paula Jean Swearingen told journalists Ian Higgins and Jordan Cheriton that she had witnessed Brana try to force himself onto former party executive director Xana Day, who confirmed the allegation herself. They say numerous party board members were apparently forced out for encouraging investigations into the allegations and questioning whether Brana was still fit to lead the party. So, I mean, clearly, it seems like this is a guy who is putting himself, his own personal interest, his own personal stake in this sort of like club that he's created here with the People's Party, and he's putting that all above actual principles and actual morals and actual accountability within his own party structure. But they continue. They say, after the allegations were made public, the party's social media accounts attacked and smeared those questioning the party's leadership's action. They say other former party volunteers and members have accused the party leadership of lacking democratic organizational process, having opaque finances, and being generally disrespectful, manifesting sometimes as ableism and racism. I mean, obviously this part of it is terrible, but I mean, this part of it is just like the most ironic of all of these different things, is that this is the People's Party whose first priority is apparently expanding the democratic process, and then you don't have a real democratic organizational process within your own organization, not just in the fact that you were suppressing people who are within the leadership of this party who are trying to speak out against the leader Nick Brana or speak out about issues of the party generally. You're suppressing them, you're smearing them online through your Twitter account or whatever the case may be, and then on top of that, I love Cornel West, I'm happy that he's a candidate, but there was no democratic primary process that was put in place to select Cornel West. Okay, they just sort of were like, okay, you're our candidate, let's just move forward. That's not how democracy usually functions. Now, again, I'm not mad that it's Cornel West, but it's just kind of like a completely hypocritical thing, right? And then on top of that, having opaque finances. I mean, we're talking about what is supposed to be a left-wing, leftist, coalition party that is forming here. Okay, you can't have opaque financial, an opaque financial situation on your books. Okay, that should be first and foremost the thing that you are the most open about, right? That's why we have so many critiques of Republicans and Democrats accepting dark money from billionaires in corporate America and all of these different things. That's the main criticism of how the current status of the status quo of American politics functions, and it seems like you're just sort of following in that footstep, right? But they finish off here. They say, As of now, the People's Party has ballot access in barely a handful of states. The party's central website has little direction for those interested in joining the party's effort to gain ballot access elsewhere, nor to organize and elect candidates on a local level. The policy platform includes 6 admirable goals, but with little more than a few sentences related to each plank. I mean, this is something that has existed for years at this point. What did they say? It was founded in 2017, and you have 6 planks, which each have like a few sentences, and you're not really even being clear about what your actual party agenda is, and then you've also not proven yourself by electing like even a single, as far as I'm aware, actual candidate even at the local or state level. And then on top of that, you only have ballot access in apparently like 3 states. I think it's like Florida, Missouri, and one other one that I'm blanking on right now. But in order to become the president of the United States, you need to be able to be on the ballot, right? I know that a lot of people, just have a knee-jerk reactionary rejection of electoral politics, and I sympathize with that to a large degree. But just at a fundamental level, if the idea here is to create a viable third party, step 1 is getting on the ballot, right? You can't just launch a presidential campaign when you're only going to be able to even hypothetically get on the ballot in 3 states. I mean, it's a complete joke, right? But they finish off here. They say West's decision to run with the party calls into question his instincts and perhaps even his intentions. I kind of have a disagreement with that, but they say it's not as if he had to run with this party. The Green Party was an option, true, at least in terms of ballot access, which they have ballot access all around the country. They say he also could have run as a Democrat to give Democratic voters another real option to choose, or to put more pressure on Biden to engage with West's arguments. Now, I think this aspect of it is something that a lot of people who maybe are more sympathetic than I am to the People's Party's goals, or who are super big on third-party ventures, which again, I completely agree with. But a lot of people have been responding and saying, well, if he ran as a Democrat, they're just going to stab him in the back. He would have no actual legitimate chance at winning the primary. I would agree with that to a large extent, but I would also follow up and say he has probably less of a chance of winning under the People's Party banner. Okay, so he has less of a chance of winning, in my opinion, at least under that banner, than even the Democrats and how they would treat him and smear him and silence him and all of that stuff. But then on top of that, we're talking about like a potential hypothetical as we're heading into this Democratic primary contest where Biden and the Democrats are not even willing to entertain the idea of having a debate with people like RFK and Marianne Williamson, who are actually directly challenging Biden within the party. If Cornel West was to throw his hat in the ring in the Democratic primary, honestly, I think that may have a positive impact in terms of pushing Democrats with another high-profile, nationally recognized figure getting into that ring, pressuring them to actually have to confront the idea that maybe Biden is not the unquestioned God King of the Democratic Party and should have to at least debate a lot of these candidates. So I think that there's a lot of, just in terms of like the net benefit in terms of running with the People's Party, it's just non-existent in my opinion. And if anything, it detracts from his run, it detracts from the idea of having a viable third-party candidacy, and I don't understand it. Okay, so they finish off here. They say, so too could he have used the party as a vessel to expose even more traditional Democratic voters to his legacy and vision for politics. So, I mean, I think that breakdown there from the New Republic was 100% correct. I think it's absolutely bizarre that he chose to do this. Now, I don't think I'm questioning his intentions or his goals. I mean, this is a guy who has been consistent in his ideological framework and what he has been advocating for literally decades, for longer than I have been alive on this planet. So I'm not going to question his intentions, but it's like, you're running a presidential campaign. Okay, are you telling me that you couldn't have vetted, or the people who are working on your staff for this potential campaign couldn't have vetted the People's Party and see that this is not a serious operation that has any legitimate chance of propelling you towards the presidency? Or do you just not really think that you would have a viable chance at winning the presidency, so you're sort of just doing this as like an activist type of thing? I mean, what's the actual answer here? Again, it'll be interesting to see where this goes from here. I'll certainly keep you guys updated. I respect the fuck out of Cornel West, but this decision to run with the People's Party, it just was not it.
Everyone is saying good politic guy has the best politic. Believe me, no one does it like him. Believe me, everyone is saying